Psychology is the manifestation of the result of the interaction between the mind and the body. Three components of psychology are perception, memory, and expression. In the process of psychological operation, facts and emotions are recognized in the conscious. Facts and emotions are recognized connected with each other in perception, memory, and expression. Psychological operation is important since it involves emotions. The treatment of psychology attempts to normalize the recognition of emotions in perception, memory, and expression, although facts always stay the same. It is important to understand where emotions come from to apply psychology treatment in an adequate way. We mistake that emotions that accompany facts in perception flow in from outside attached to the facts. However, emotions do not flow in or come in from outside. Emotions that are recognized in the conscious in the process of perception, retrieving memory, and expression are not to be directly considered as the operation of mind. The mind consists of the unconscious and the conscious. The unconscious generates emotions and has them operate in the psychology of perception, memory, and expression. The unconscious generates emotions connected with perceived facts and combines emotions and facts, connects them in the process of storing in and retrieving from memory, and combines them for expression. Emotions are generated from within your unconscious. Emotions generated in the unconscious are combined with facts and are manifested in psychology and recognized only in your own conscious. Suppose that someone gets angry at you. You may think that he or she made you feel bad. However, it is your unconscious that generates your negative emotions upon your perception of the counterparty's speech, actions, and facial expressions. Then your conscious makes you recognize the combination of the fact of the counterparty getting angry and your negative emotions, which means you feel that facts and emotions are connected from the beginning. You may generate positive emotions upon the counterparty getting angry at you, when your unconscious generates positive emotions upon the perception of the external fact and connect the two elements. The emotions that you feel is recognized only by yourself. Facts are objective, but emotions attached to facts are absolutely individual and subjective. When you are convinced that facts and your emotions connected with the facts are inherently attached together, you become to have a distorted perception of facts and emotions. Then you may apply your subjective emotions and ideas to view and judge all information that are perceived. When you perceive all the facts connecting them with negative emotions, you are considered to have developed perception disorder and you need to adjust the unconscious operation of generating emotions. When you express your emotions in relationships with other people, your emotions are generated only within yourself. When your counterparties express their emotions are generated only within themselves. When each party perceives the counterparty's expression, it is common that they mistake their emotions generated by perceiving the counterparty's expression for being provided by the counterparty instead of being generated from within themselves. This phenomenon is referred to as the error of psychological interaction, and it explains the fact that human relationships and psychological interactions naturally lead to conflicts and misunderstanding. Thus, it is a complete misunderstanding that your counterparty's emotional state will become positive when you are nice to them and vice versa. Everyone's emotions are generated only from within themselves. Emotions are categorized into positive, negative, and void ones. Void emotions refer to the emotional state where you feel comfortable and your unconscious does not produce either positive or negative emotions upon psychological interactions. The process of perception, memory, and expression do not lead the unconscious to generate any type of emotions but just operate facts. The emotional state of voidness is considered to have the value of 0, whereas positive state of pleasure and joy has plus value, and negative state of anger and sorrow has minus value. No one else but yourself can sense your emotional state. We keep adjusting our emotions to perceived facts in the process of pursuing happiness. When we sense negative emotions, our unconscious attempts to generate positive or void emotions by transforming negative emotions into positive or void emotions. When you have negative emotions and feel difficulties inside yourself, it is the problem of your emotions regardless of what happened as facts. People misunderstand that the change of facts or situations will make them feel better. You cannot change facts that have already happened, but when you change your emotions attached to facts to positive or void ones, you do not perceive the fact as a problem anymore and feel as if the problem has been solved. This process is referred to as healing. Sometimes other people help you feel better by being considerate, providing empathy and consolation, and building rapport. From the perspective of mind operation, empathy is impossible to build since emotions are sensed only by the person who generates them. Others cannot possibly recognize what you feel. With this respect, building rapport is also meaningless and impossible to help you since emotions are recognized only by yourself. When you really feel empathy for sad or happy emotions of others, it is not that you share and feel the same emotions as others, but that you have generated your own sad or happy emotions based on your perception of the situation. When you develop psychological problems, you can restore your psychology by solving the specific problem through counseling, religion, getting advice, or information. All of these activities are considered as types of consolation and diversion that employ external factors in attempts to transform your emotions into positive or void ones. They are all legitimate and necessary measures that help you restore psychology in the process of pursuing happiness in human relationships. However, there are cases where the activities for consolation and diversion do not help since you have developed some pathological psychological condition with fixated emotions regardless of external facts. Your unconscious may generate only negative emotions upon any perception, retrieval of memory, or expression. Then, consolation and diversion do not help improve the condition and actually aggravate the situation. When you have developed a psychological disorder in which the unconscious generates emotions in distorted ways, any operation of psychology results in distorted emotions. There can be perception disorder, the disorder of memory of emotion, and expression disorder, depending on the component with distorted generation of emotions. As a psychological disorder progresses further, you may develop psychological disorders in two components of psychology. The condition actually deteriorates when you attempt to treat psychological disorders with measures that are used to solve milder conditions of psychological problems. Psychological disorders must be treated by adjusting the unconscious so that it can generate emotions in adequate ways. It must be noted that the operation of the unconscious and the generation of emotions are processed only within oneself. Therefore, it is only you yourself who can and must treat your psychological disorder. You cannot and must not have external factors at play, including your most loved people and psychology experts, to treat your psychological disorder. In this process, you also must suppress the operation of the conscious to activate the operation of the unconscious exclusively. The conscious recognition is necessarily associated with facts and contributes to the conscious generation of distorted emotions. When you treat psychological disorders, you must repeat the therapeutic tasks without thinking consciously and lead the unconscious to generate emotions in adequate ways. It is ineffective and sometimes even dangerous to adopt solutions to psychological problems for treating psychological disorders. Even experts get confused between solving psychological problems and treating psychological disorders. When pathological psychological conditions continue to progress without proper treatment, you may become permanently dependent on psychiatric treatment, including medication. Also, people who have psychological disorders that make them pursue only positive emotions in distorted ways destroy their life without even realizing they have serious problems. Excessive generation of both positive and negative emotions requires psychology treatment. In both cases, you are considered to have lost the balance of emotions, being unable to process the whole range of emotions in adequate ways. People who stay in negative emotions tend to look for treatment methods and make efforts to recover. People who pursue positive emotions do not consider themselves as having problems, so hardly look for treatment. They may seek treatment when they are put in the situation where they suffer from extreme negative emotions, since they cannot pursue positive emotions. When they apply solutions to psychological problems such as consolation or diversion, instead of adequate methods of psychology treatment, their condition gets aggravated even further, usually developing into bipolar disorder. Any attempt or treatment method that adopts providing positive sensory stimulation for the purpose of generating positive emotions that counteract negative emotions will lead to distorted operation of the unconscious and aggravate the psychological condition. Repeatedly producing temporary positive moods through positive sensory stimulation lets the conscious recognize positive moods and cover up the distorted operation of the unconscious. Then your underlying condition keeps deteriorating without being recognized and properly being addressed, and you may become to pursue only positive moods from sensory stimulation at all costs. In extreme cases, the psychological condition causes serious relational conflicts or even crime cases, destroying your life and the life of your loved ones. People in perception disorder and the disorder of memory of emotions suffer from negative emotions. On the other hand, people in expression disorder pursue only positive emotions and they suffer from excruciating pain and cannot stand it when they cannot achieve positive emotions. The level of positive moods they need to compensate their underlying negative emotions keeps getting higher and higher. They experience extreme stress and extreme positive moods at the same time toward the object of pleasure or addiction. You must accurately understand the operation of emotions for proper psychology treatment. When people in depression, which is the disorder of memory of emotions, keep activating positive moods through sensory stimulation, they easily transfer to expression disorder, and then symptoms of depression disappear. This can be mistaken for depression having been treated, but it actually has aggravated the pathological condition. Now they have both the disorder of memory of emotions and expression disorder. Thus, the unconscious generating emotions and the sensory stimulation generating moods are completely different. Psychological problems can be solved by consolation and diversion, but psychological disorders must be treated by normalizing the operation of the unconscious. Emotions are generated and sensed only by yourself. Your emotions have nothing to do with situations and other people. It is unwise and unhealthy to pursue positive moods through sensory stimulation from consolation and diversion. Also, it is not recommended that you provide empathy, advice, consolation, and rapport when you find people around you have psychological disorders. They must treat themselves on their own, adopting proper psychology treatment methods. What looks good on the surface may not be necessarily good in a true sense.